And welcome back to another episode, special episode this week of the Off the Clock Show with myself, Shawn Gervais from OrbisX, Ultimate CRM, as well as Marty, Mr. Marshall Hill from the Pints of Polishing podcast, and also hyperClean car care products, because part of a balanced breakfast includes both OrbisX and the Pints of Polishing. Sorry, but today we're joined by Tomas Keenan, who is overall just kick-ass individual, entrepreneur at heart, and has released a book that both myself and Marty dove into recently, which I had in my list for a while and finally, took the plunge, and it was well worth it. But so title of the book is, it's hard to pronounce with the asterisk, but it's Unfuck Your Business. But yeah, so Tomas, I'll let you jump in here, introduce yourself, the book, and then we'll dive into some stuff here.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Grateful for the opportunity to come in here and have some good conversation with you guys today. And the ultimate goal here is to help impact someone, in my opinion, help impact someone in a positive manner, whether it's business, personal, mindset, whatever topics we get in today, drinking beer.
Fantastic.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on here. And, entrepreneurship for me is something that I think was kind of part of the bloodline, because my mom's side of the family, especially, and
in your DNA.
Yeah, for real, dude. Like, she's one of 5 siblings, my mom, and each and every one of them at one point in time in their life either owned or had owned multiple businesses. Now, I wouldn't say any one of them was extremely successful in owning those small businesses, but it basically established for me at an early age, like, hey, this is a possibility for you. 100%. And that's all it took, man. The work ethic was there behind it. I grew up in a community and a family that was
community. Anytime we say community, we drink. Sorry. Thanks, Thomas.
Okay, so I grew up in a community that was heavily blue collar, and learned a lot about the trades and worked with my hands, and that's what I was into. And by the time I was 17 years old, I was professionally working on cars as a car audio installer. And
fantastic.
I still love it to this day. I've just moved on from it as a career.
Absolutely. That's cool. Yeah. Do you remember what the first that got you, like, why electronics? What was it about? I've talked to some young kids that, and we do it's called a community pub. It's every Wednesday night. Yep. We have different detailers hop in. We all have a good time. Mm-hmm. And I talked about how it seems to be the generation now, they don't understand car audio because speakers all come already pretty cool into cars. All the technology's in there. For us, I flash back to, CDs and when you could put them in, when the screen would come off. And I had in my S10, I had the one, I think it was a Pioneer, and you press a button and it pops off and you put it in your little plastic case and away you go, right? Like, I had a couple little speakers in the back, but nothing major. But audio was, you drive neighborhoods, you could hear cars all the time down the street. Audio was a thing. It was the way you almost presented your vehicle. Having the vehicle is one thing, and then your audio was like the next step up. But it seems like it's almost a dying breed in a sense, but you're still very active in your business. So what is it all just the GPS stuff now today, or what is audio like today?
I've gotten out of the 12-volt automotive community overall and moved on to other things, but I'm still heavily involved in the MEA, which is the Mobile Electronics Association. And they host 4 events across the nation each year. And they have me come in and speak and present and teach classes for their community. Nice. And it's something that I like doing. Yeah, it's community. There we go again. You guys are gonna be fucking wrecked by the time we're done.
I know. That's the way to do it, man. It's off the clock.
Absolutely.
So I go in there and basically I feel obligated pretty much, and not in a bad way. Like, now, my feet are being held to the fire, but I feel obligated to go in there and give back to the community that got things started for me in my first business, my second business, and enabled a lot of really cool things to happen in my life. So for me, it's like, cool, let's go back in there. Let's pour into these people. Let's educate them a bit more and literally help them succeed in business, because I'm super clear on what my purpose is. And that's it right there. I was put on the planet to help others succeed in business.
Beautiful.
Going back to the cars and what got me involved.
I was like, let's get back to that car audio.
We skipped over that question. Yeah. So I had been working with my mom has two brothers, right? And I grew up working very closely with both of them. One of them owned an auto body shop, and the other one owned an auto mechanic and like a detailing used car dealership kind of deal. So we did a little bit of everything when it came to cars.
Nice.
And I had this experience working with these guys. Like, cool, I understand what this is. Do a little bit of auto mechanic work, a little bit of auto body. I have a good feeling of what it all is. I wasn't in love with any of it. However, I love cars and I love music. I can't play music for my fucking life, right? I'm not a musician by no means, but I knew what good music was to me, and I enjoyed the experience. And I was one of those kids, I don't know, I was 15, 16 years old and was hanging out with some dude who's a bit older than me, maybe 17 or 18, and driving around in his piece of shit Toyota Celica 4-door. Remember those back in the day, like a shit brown Toyota Celica?
I had a buddy
in the neighborhood. We had nothing better to do, and this dude had like this loud ass stereo in there, and you know, looking back at it, it was nothing more than two speakers and an amplifier, right? It's all, it was two 6x9s in the back deck and a small Sony amplifier in the trunk of the car. But up to that point, I had no idea you could even put that shit in the car. So here, I love music, I love cars. I don't necessarily love the kind of work I'm doing on cars now, but now I learned that I could put these two things together. And it incorporates the skill sets of all the major trades. There's plumbing, there's electrical, there's woodworking, there's fabrication, there's composites. And when I say composites, I'm talking fiberglass and carbon fiber and whatnot. Like, cool, I'm interested in learning about how to put all of these things together to go build some cool shit.
Do you remember as I was talking about trying to remember back to those days, do you remember the CDs that you would put in? Shawn, did you have one of those? And it would, it would like, you could put like 5 in one and you'd push it into the deck and like, it would pull them out and like move them around.
Yeah. I had one of those. Yeah.
What was
mine didn't work that well though. But,
mine never worked well either.
Okay,
Mine never worked well either. Thomas, what was your go-to genre back in the day?
A little bit of everything, man. Still to this day. Like good old classic, we'll call it grunge music for sure. And we'll go back to some old school hip hop. I've always been a classic rock fan, always. And that's probably just because my parents growing up listening to music with them nonstop. But yeah, I mean, like those are probably the three big genres that you can switch back and forth for me. You know, as I've grown up, I've expanded it a bit more. But I mean, music to me is music. I really don't care what the genre is. It's more about the feeling you get from it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's true. Yeah, I get that because I'm the same way. I flip back between all kinds of genres and even between Spanish and English. And I find that there's this show I watch called Colors. It's on YouTube. They have a channel and stuff. And they have these like independent artists come on, and it's just an empty room that's painted a certain color. And then sometimes they're playing an instrument, but they're performing their own music. And you can see a lot of people that came up. There's people I've seen now, they've blown up into something huge. And I was like, shit, I saw that guy on Colors, you know, and but it's alternative kind of music, but all different genres are on there. Like they've even had people on there playing jazz and all kinds of crazy shit.
Shawn, don't you think it's almost actually, as I've been listening to more music that I don't understand the lyrics, almost kind of appreciate the music in a sense, right? Because you don't actually understand what they're saying. You just kind of feel the flow of everything, hear the hermeneutics, hear the, hear the way the percussion, hear everything,
the
right?
Itself, absolutely. Yeah. And,
definitely. That's cool.
You
mentioned
community.
Right, community. There we go. All right. I'm sipping down today. This is Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA.
Holy jeez.
The reason I bring it up is it's from New Belgium. And one of their claims to fame, Thomas, is employee-owned small business.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Right? One of the big things that you kind of talked about in your book, and, you know, if we want to, Shawn, we'll just get right into it, huh? Like, was the having your core values, but then needing to hire and fire around your core values. Having an employee-run business, is that I guess it has to be built in around core values in a sense. Walk us through, like, if I'm a guy that I'm cleaning cars, right? You were putting in your first systems, you were doing your first things. I'm a guy that my cars, I've got my customers. I think one of the major problems that we all have, how do I hire somebody, right? How do I hire somebody? And then we always think they're going to steal from us, or we think they're going to go do something else, or they're just not good enough. And that's a big one, right? Oh, they're not good enough. I can't find anybody that's like me.
They can't do it the way I do it. Yeah.
They don't do it the way I do it, you know, but we ultimately need 1, 2, 5, 10. We need people.
Yeah. 100%.
Walk us through First of all, what is a core value? And then how the hell does it matter with somebody that I'm trying to bring in?
Yeah, so there's a lot of pieces to unpack here. I'm gonna try and get it all in here at once. Core values are basically the guiding or guidepost for your team. It tells them, hey, you can operate between here and here. Right. It also says, hey, this is direction, this is what we believe in. Core values are part of what I call the vision. Right. The vision is three equal components. It's your core values, your mission statement, and your purpose. Right. Your purpose is why you're in business. Your mission statement is what you do, who you do it for, and by when. Should be set up as a goal, in my opinion. Right. And then you have your core values. You put those three pieces of the puzzle together, and you've created a vision for a company. As
Okay,
a
cool.
leader,
Let me put like, and we'll do this. Let me pause you for a second. We'll get into the rest of my question then later.
Yep.
But you just don't know. I bet you there's people that are listening. They're going, what? Like,
Yep.
There might need to rewind that and listen to it a couple. So say it again, just a bit slower, break that down. And maybe Shawn and I, we can chop it up to figure out how that translates into detailing.
Yeah. So it translates to any business, in my opinion. I don't give a fuck what you do. Service-based business, software as a service, same shit. Right. But the vision is what the founder, the visionary of the company needs to establish, in my opinion. And they should establish it sooner rather than later, like fuck, even before we start serving the first customer. And the vision is three equal components, right? You've got your core values, you have your mission, and you have your purpose. Your purpose is why you do what you do. Your mission is what you do, who you do it for, and by when. Should be set up as a goal, because it's gonna be a moving target over time. You should
okay. Let's start at the why. Let's start at the why.
Yep.
Shawn, because we clean cars. I don't know. A lot of people just get into it and they go, well, I like to clean cars. And this is a problem that a lot of people have is they just like doing something.
Yep.
They get into it part-time. I could do this full-time. So what is our why? I mean, beyond we like to clean cars.
That is the hardest question to answer. It is the most difficult one to answer. And my suggestion to most people is to do it in reverse order. Because getting clear on the core values and what you believe in first is the easiest one. Then it's the mission, then it's the purpose. So figure out what the fuck your values are. And
all right. So how do we determine that? How do we know what we value? I'm just a guy that likes to clean cars and get money.
Yep.
How do I determine what's valuable to me?
There's like anything else, you can go on the internet and you can do a Google search and find 800 fucking ways to do this. Okay. Over my years of doing it, and in my book, I have a detailed process of getting clear on your core values. Now, let's throw this back. I wrote that book. Let me rephrase. That book was launched in June of 2019, which means I wrote the book in 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. 2018, right now it's 2022, almost 2023. We're coming up to, I don't know, almost 5 years. I've learned a lot in that short period of time. I'm sure you guys have too.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So I've actually been able to refine the core values exercise from a long-winded process you found in my book to what I call now a streamlined version. And it's a couple of questions. It's like, what are you looking to provide for yourself? What are you looking to provide for your team members? What are you looking to provide for your clients? And what are you looking to provide the universe? Ask yourself those 4 questions, right? And the exercise goes a bit deeper than that, but we don't have time to dive into it crazily here on the podcast, clearly. But those are the 4 main questions you got to ask yourself, and pick 3 top answers of core values. Like, I want abundance. I want freedom. I want whatever it may be that resonates with you. And my book is a list of potential core values. I suggest you go in there, take a look at it, and you can use them to fill in the blanks. And
you do a great job, Shawn. I love this. I know, because we always talk about, how you can drip in things and stuff. I love every end of the chapter. What do you say? For a free,
free strategy session, hit me up.
Absolutely. Because
what's the website? What's the website?
TomasKeenan.com.
There you go.
Let me tell you something about that. Again, the book's been out since 2019, and thousands of fucking copies have been sold. Okay. Thousands of copies.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. A lot of people hit me up and they say, oh, this is so helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I get emails, I get DMs on social. Cool. I appreciate it. Right. It lets me know that we put something together that's pretty good. And it wasn't just me. I hired a team to help me do it. Right. there's a call to action there clearly. And that is a call to action where I'm literally going to get on a phone or a Zoom call with someone for fucking free for 30 minutes and help them go through this process. I
Shit.
think I've had 10 people over the past 4 years.
I gotta go fill that
Yeah.
out real quick.
What's the link? And wait, you had how many people fill it
I
out?
think I've had 10 people take me up on the offer in 4 or
No
5 years.
shit. Wow.
I mean, you literally at the end of every chapter, you say it.
yeah,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, say it. I only listen to Audible books, so I'm so glad that you had it on Audible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I don't
Absolutely.
read, so thank you.
You know what the crazy part is about what you just said, Thomas? So we had a guy on the show. Well, we did a show on Marty's podcast with him before, and he has 5 cars. Masterson, I think he's got 5 cars or something like that. And he put out every episode. He's like, listen, there's detailers all the time messaging me saying they don't have enough work or they're slow. He said, look, I've got 5 cars. Here's my cell phone number. He'd put it on the screen. And he's like, give me a call and give me your pitch and come clean my cars.
Yep.
And he never got one phone call. And it's like, people are out there complaining they don't have business, but then they're not. Man, a free coaching session to go through this and create your core values, and like 10 people. That's crazy.
Yep. So check this out. I'll give you another story around here, right? Still, I'm going back a couple of years. I'm still involved in the GPS tracking industry. I own a service-based business there. And I start up this Facebook group called GPS Tracking Installers. It's still there, still active. I'm just not the one running the group at this point. And I used to go into that group once a week or so and stream Facebook Live, and I would screen share and show that industry, because it was a group and there was entrance questions, and we were pretty rigid about it. You had to be in the industry in order to get into that group, right?
Makes sense.
So think about a group of just detailers, and you guys are talking like legit shop. Like, no. This is the newest, latest, greatest techniques. This is the new business softwares and processes we're using to give our customers a good experience. Like, that's what this group was. Beautiful. I literally would go in that group and open up my playbook and show those dudes across the country exactly what the fuck it was that I was doing to be successful in that space. And I had people hitting me up like, man, you're out of your bird. Like, I wouldn't be sharing that stuff with you. I mean, you work so hard, so many years, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wrong mindset, right? I'm all about the abundance mindset myself. I'm going to go in there. Let's say 100 dudes watch me on that live video. Okay. Out of those 100 dudes, 10 of them are going to take action. Out of those 10, 1 is going to finish. And that one motherfucker is going to finish, and he's already 3 years behind me.
Yeah.
So what do I have to lose?
That's true. Yeah. It's funny. That's what I did with my book too. I wrote out a book, how I built my shop, everything. And I've even given it to some local competitors, and they said, oh, can I get a copy? I'd send it to them. And people were telling me the same thing. They're like, you're fucking nuts to give this to them. I said, look, the reality is, if they've been in business one guy was in business for 13 years. He had 6 or 7 employees. My shop had just launched. We were a year in. And I was like, if he's coming to me for help, 13 years later, and I've just launched, that's not a concern for me at all, because he's not gonna, and reality is I hope he does do fucking well, and then we can swap together and work together to some capacity. But yeah, no, absolutely, I get that mindset for sure.
Yeah.
Thomas, I'm going to ask this question because it's something I've struggled with, and I know we've talked about, Shawn, I've talked with my partner, trying to figure out why that is. There's a group of people that want the answers to the test. And at the same time, then they don't actually want to fill in the blank. They still want you to put the answer in. And
that's just it. Like, you just answered the question.
Is it because the way technology, we love Google, we love Amazon, we love so many things that bring immediate, that then when it comes to a problem that we think that is happening in the real world, that we think we can go online or go into a group and get a real world translation for our answer without really the entrepreneurism in us, which should be built in, that we figure things out.
Yeah. We put the work in. Yeah. I think part of the problem there too is that when it comes to, people just wanting the answer and basically they want the instant success. They want the end goal. They want the yacht. They want the Ferrari. They want the big house. They don't want to put the work in. But what they don't realize is that solving problems is where the money is. And so you have to go through the process of solving the problems, which is putting the work in. And that's where the money comes. You don't just jump to the end result. You got to actually solve the problem. That's what I think, but I think people don't want to put that work in.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the other things too that I found is oftentimes the person will be like, no, it can't be that easy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like,
It usually is that fucking easy.
And like, no, you dumb motherfucker, it is easy. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's easy, but it's compounded over time. So easy plus consistency over time equals the result. So it's easy to get up and read 10 pages every day, but to get up and do it every day for 100 days, 200 days, like that's fucking difficult.
Yeah.
But that's when you're going to get the real result. Like, you know, before we hit the button, you were telling me that you're a voracious reader. That's fucking awesome. Like, I don't read that much. I read a lot, but I don't read as much as you do. But my jam is every morning I wake up, I head into the gym. And what I do is I have an option, right? We always have a choice.
Yeah.
Choices. I have a choice here. I could turn on some music. I love fucking music. We established that earlier in the show. I could turn on some music and jam out on the 20-minute drive I have into the gym each morning. Or I could put on an audiobook and educate myself in that 20-minute period. Right. So what do we do?
Choice. Yeah.
Or podcast. I love podcasts for that. But I'm with you, man. I love audio books. That's the way I listen to yours. So the reason why I asked that question is to come back to what we were just talking about. I've got to create core values for my company, right? Me, I'm cleaning some cars. I got one or two people, or I'm by myself.
Yep.
Ultimately, I just want you to tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Tell you what your core values are.
No, I can't tell you what they are. You got to go through and do the work. But like I said, I got a streamlined worksheet now that I've helped people get clear on their core values very quickly. It's not a month-long process at this point.
Why is it the number one thing? Because it's kind of curious.
Every decision you make moving forward, once you've established those values, it goes back to those values.
Is this like our 10 commandments in a sense?
Exactly. Except it shouldn't be 10 in my opinion. It should be a lot less. Right. And I find that most companies who establish core values, they either establish them, they do the work, they throw them up on the wall, they tell the fucking world, and then never hear a word out of the founder or the leaders in that company ever again based upon those values. What do you waste all your time for?
That's one thing I was wondering about, because it's kind of like you have to walk the walk. Like I know a lot of people, so previous company I had, we built a lot of websites. And so we would get the content from the customer. And a lot of times there was kind of a blank that was always drawn around 2 pages. And one of them was the About Us page and the Why Us page. Those were always, they had mountains of shit about services or, contact us, all these different things. When it came to you need an About Us page, for example, and they were always stumped there. And I'm like, well, it's your company. You can't tell me about your company. Like describe, I don't know, what the fuck do you do? Like, what do you, and they would say, can't you just write it for us? That was a huge thing we always got. And the answer was always no. We refused because I said, look, we can refine it. We can edit it. We can make some suggestions, but ultimately you got to at least give us a bullet list of something. We can't just create it out of thin air. And I think that was the problem, is that they saw it as a checklist where as long as we have this done, I saw such and such, Bob's Plumbing. He had our mission is this. So we have to have our mission is this, but that's pointless if you actually don't believe it, you don't understand it, and you're not instilling it in your employees. So for me, I just had a talk with Marty, my Nick. So Marty's business partner's name is Nick, so is mine. And I called Nick and I was like, hey, what are we doing Christmas party wise? And he's like, I don't know, bonus checks. I was like, yeah, okay, that's a given, but like, we got to do something like a party or something. He's like, man, I haven't really been feeling like doing too much this year. I said, well, guess what? It's not about you. I said, they don't work for us. We work for them. We work for our employees, because without our employees, business collapses, and we need to replicate ourselves in them in terms of what we believe. That's something I've always believed since the beginning. And so getting them to understand that, for example, time is always a big issue at shops. Fighting with, oh, well, I work these hours and nickel and diming things, or then staff wanting time off, boss doesn't want to give it. We've tried to foster, because one of our core values that I actually set out in the beginning was that I didn't want to have people fighting over time, myself included. And I feel it's important for them to have family time. It's important for them to have time for themselves, because for them to be their best selves, they have to, have that time. And I didn't share that same vision with some of my business partners. So that was always an area of conflict for us. And it was almost like the kids watching mommy and daddy fight on Christmas morning. The staff would see that and it became toxic. So from my perspective, that's where core values were important, but I didn't know what they were that we were creating, to be honest. I knew I felt a certain way, but I didn't know I was trying to kind of like build core values. So I guess that was a long roundabout way of me asking. We started our company. I've started other companies where it was intentional. We set up like a mission and this and that, and then we tried to live by it. But there's other companies I founded where we didn't intentionally set something up. The businesses have done well. Like we turned that shop into a 7-figure shop in a year, which was impressive. But maybe it could have been, $20 million more than what it was. I don't know. Right. And so my question is, how important is it to really do that in the beginning, or is it something you can do later on? Like, have I lost time? Am I gone too far?
You can definitely do it later on. It's just, it complicates things a bit because like when you first start out, even if you got a partner, it's you and a partner, maybe 2 partners, right?
Yeah.
You get in a room, you figure it the fuck out. Now, when you have, let's call it 7, 8, 9, 10 people on the team, and you got to go, okay, us partners, we just got clear on these values, and now we've got to go get buy-in from the existing team. And when you go and get buy-in from that team after you've gone and created this, naturally what's going to happen is you're going to have some people on the team who do not align with those values, and you're going to have attrition. You're going to have someone who drops out. I had I'm not going to mention names here for personal reasons. I have a client who I'm working with right now who hired me specifically to get her and her very well-established company clear on their core values. And we did so. And I did so with her executive team. And this past weekend, she shot me a message and she said, hey, so-and-so just quit.
Oh, shit.
Because we got clear on the values. And now it came time to holding people accountable to those values moving forward. Because that's the next step. Like, cool, we created the values. We threw the fucking fancy artwork up on the wall, yada, yada, yada. Everyone can do that, right? Now, what do we do with this once we've done the hard work there? We have to go and live and die by this each and every day. We've got to set the example from the top down, right? And she started doing so at the top with her executive team, and her right-hand person couldn't handle the pressure once the new values were established, and basically lashed out at her and said, see you later, I'm out after 7 years. Right. And that's something you're going to have to face. It's part of the process. But the same thing applies in your personal life too. If you get clear on your personal core values, you're going to see attrition with those around you, even the ones who you think are the ones who care for you the most, or the closest to you. It's something that's difficult to go through, but I call it the drop off. Right.
Yeah. Necessary for growth, I guess.
Yeah. You start elevating yourself. You start self-development. You start changing your mindset. You have a more of an abundance mindset. It literally changes your perspective of the world. And you realize that although people are here and they care for you, they may not be the best thing for you moving forward. And that's a tough pill to swallow. I don't care who you are.
That's true. Shit.
Absolutely.
That's some
All right.
serious. Yeah.
So let's say we got our core values. Anybody still struggling with core values? Go to
TomasKeenan.com.
And they can fill out some stuff.
Yep.
And please, someone book a
book one. Let's go. Come 11. On. All right. So we got our core values. Second was
mission. Yep. Basically the mission, it's a goal. Explain and put it into a format, what it is you do, who you do it for, and by when. Right. So my last company.
Important. That's what I learned from your book. Very important.
Yep. Yeah. You got to set it up as a goal, and this becomes that big target, right? It's like, hey, this is what we do. So in my company, we install GPS tracking and dash cameras in commercial vehicles, and our goal was to install 1 million devices by 2025. Okay, so we're telling, and this goes out publicly too. This goes on websites, goes out marketing, goes in all your conversations. We're telling the world exactly what it is we do, how we can help them, and exactly how many of these so-called jobs, touches, whatever that KPI is that you determine. That's the goal that we've set. So this becomes this big fucking hairy goal that we got going on. And now, okay, cool. 4 or 5 years.
Why have that big? Why put that out? Why have that?
Because even if you fall short of that goal, you're still going to be a hell of a lot further along if you just go out there and say, oh, let's get stuck in reactionary state here, and whatever the fuck happens. Put you in more control of it.
I know what you mean. If, for example, if you went and said, let's sell as many of these as we can. As many isn't any kind of figure.
Yeah.
So that could be to one staff member, maybe that means 10.
Yeah.
Maybe
It
to the next
also
guy it's
helps
100,000.
helps with projections for you and building a team. So if you know that, hey, in 5 years, we got to have this many installs done, now you can reverse engineer that goal and say, okay, well, what does it look like for the next 12 months?
What happens if I'm not meeting that goal? Because I think my struggle with setting, and this is a philosophy in business and goal setting, and
Sure.
I'd love to chop this back and forth. I personally haven't really, and this is, like I said, this is philosophy differences. This is business, practice differences. I personally haven't ever set a goal like that.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm not a success, right? Like I get it. I've always found that if you try, to your point, right? Try and hit the stars and I land on the moon. I think that was in a song previously. I think somebody sang about that. Well, but I didn't actually hit my goal.
Yeah.
And I threw up such a massive goal that I'm okay with hitting down here.
Mhm.
And if we're in a very long journey in business and it's a marathon and not a sprint, and it's a marathon and not a quarter mile, it's a marathon and not right.
Mhm.
Could there be some negative tones to somebody that sets, I'm a detailer, I clean cars for customers in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I hope to clean 1 million cars by 2030, right?
Yep.
But I don't actually, and I pull it backwards, and I've got to hit so many each day to get that goal. But you and I both know that, if it takes a snowflake to create an avalanche, the avalanche down here is going to be much bigger than the snowball up here. And if I continually not meet my goal every day, there becomes a negative persona to I'm not successful. How can somebody then still set some type of big overall goal, but understand that each day I might not hit that goal?
Yep.
And that's why I never set that type of goal. I always just set a goal of more life and more broad. And I specifically was never that specific. Other people are, it's difference of philosophies, but that's the reason why I never did it, because I didn't want that negative persona always hitting me that I'm not successful because I'm not hitting this massive goal that I perceive that maybe I could do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think people should be cautious and careful about setting a goal that isn't unrealistic, right? Because like you're saying, if you're missing that goal over and over and over and over again, it's disheartening. It's like, well, what the fuck am I doing this for? Right. Yeah. At the same point in time, you got to understand that if you're building a real business that's scaling and you're adding team members and your team members are helping pull off a lot of that weight from your shoulders, this is a sliding scale. It's a compounding movement. So what you have to accomplish today is going to be much different from what your team has to accomplish 3 years from now. So you can't just break this down into even amounts and be like, okay, we're going to do 1 million vehicles divided by 5. So we got to do 250 vehicles this year, but I'm a single fucking guy. 250,000 vehicles. No, it doesn't work that way. You're going to do like 200.
You'll be working really.
But that's the
fast.
mindset. I guarantee you, right? That's just why I brought it up. So thank you so how do we overcome that, right? Like it's so hard for us to think 5 years projective if I only have one team member and I want this massive thing to happen. So you say in your book, and I think it's part of your philosophy, is that it is what you just said is kind of interchangeable as I flow. You even said, I think your core values can change over time.
Oh, yeah.
So how do I set this massive goal for 2025 with understanding that changes might happen and flow might happen?
I think a lot of it ties into more of the personal side too. And it goes back to the core value question of what it is that your business, what do you do in this business for, and what are you trying to create? Right.
And that's kind of your end goal that you're working towards.
Yeah. Like the business has to help you get there. So people try and separate personal from business too much, in my opinion. They're directly correlated and they overlap like a motherfucker.
I agree.
Right. I guarantee one of you dudes has a fight with a significant other, and the next day or that morning you're coming into work and you're fucking pissy. It just is what it is, right? So don't tell me that you've perfectly separated business from personal. So I think
they should overlap too, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you got to get clear on what it is that you want as a person. What are you trying to build? What's the lifestyle you want? Because listen, not everyone wants the fucking jet or the yacht, and I'm cool with that too. Right?
100%.
And a lot of people come in and they're like, oh, I need $1 million. Okay, well, why do you fucking need $1 million? Right? Have you haven't made $1 million in a year? Right? Because I'll be the first one to tell you, like, you'd be surprised that what, a lot less money will do for your lifestyle than $1 million in cold hard cash would a year.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Listen, Shawn, I'm telling you, living in Oklahoma is the best part for that. I tell you what, right now, everybody flies over and I go, keep flying, man. I got a great life down here.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. I had a guy who I look up to a couple of years ago told me, he's like, you start making 500 grand a year and your life's going to change. And I was like, come on, man, it's got to be $1 million. And when that started being a reality for me, I was like, holy fuck, was he right?
Yeah.
And I think people just overshoot that on a personal aspect because they see all of this other fluff and shit going on in the social medias, and we'll call it the fake book and whatnot. And dude, I'm all over social media. I don't hate it whatsoever, but everyone puts their fucking highlight reel out there, and I'm here to tell you firsthand that most of the shit you see there is complete fucking horseshit.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a good point you brought up, actually, because I feel like a lot of people, and this maybe is part of the process of going through creating your core values and stuff, is that a lot of people base their core values, or as in my case, they write their about us page based on somebody else's fucking life. And it's like, if you're setting your goals based on, what John Doe down the street's doing, you're never going to be happy because it's not your goal. It's like your goal needs to be your goal. And including for your business, if you're basing it on, so-and-so has a nicer shop than me, or so-and-so has this and that. Like I get asked all the time, people say, how come your shop doesn't have nice floors? I see a lot of guys, they get their first shop, and the first thing they do is they're like, oh, we're doing renos. And first thing they do is pile a bunch of money into the floor. And they always ask me, they're like, why didn't you do that? And I'm like, well, number one, I don't own the building, so I don't give a shit. Number two, customers don't come back there, so I don't give a shit. Number three, have you ever seen what happens in a shop? This isn't like my kitchen at home. You know what I mean? It gets filthy. I don't want to pile a bunch of money into, something that's not needed. It's not part of my core values, and I'm not going to change that because some other guy's got a nicer floor than me. I could care less. And that's the problem and the difference, I think, with people.
So there's probably no answer to this, but how do I decide then what I want for myself, right? And then I've got to weigh it based on then the value of what I want for the business.
Yep.
And it goes into another philosophy, and we won't dive into this rabbit, right? Like, it's then, do you pay yourself first out of the business, or it's the business that's paid first? And this becomes another part where people have to figure out which camp they fall into, because maybe you value just a little in your own personal life so that you can put more, resources into the business, or maybe you value so much you want the business to provide this status in your life, which is okay. Everybody's got their own philosophy, but maybe your personal life has something that's elevated, your business has to push. So how do we decide which one to go with?
Yeah, it's all about the values, and a lot of that's it's going to be differing, right? A lot of it's going to differ based upon where you were raised, what you were surrounded with and influenced before the ages of 7, right? Because that between the ages of 0 and 7 is when we're the most influential, right? And that's something as a parent that I'm very cognizant of, especially since I got 2 kids who's still under the age of 7. Right? It's like, what am I pouring into their brain each and every day? Say again.
I said I screwed the pooch, I guess. 7 and 13. Just passed. Whatever happened.
All short, day late there, Shawn.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very subjective, and it's a very personal answer. So I think that's the most difficult thing when it comes to vision, mission, core values, all that shit, purpose, is that there is no right or wrong. Right? There is no cut and dry. There is no black and white. No, this is how it's done. No, this isn't how it's done. And that confuses the shit out of entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They feel like there should be a template almost, because that was going to be one of my questions, is that should people avoid, like, almost, I feel like when you're creating something like this, because it's so unique and so personal to you and your business, you should almost just lock yourself in a room with literally nothing in it and create this, have a coffee or something, but don't go Google searching, companies in your neck of the woods or other companies. Don't definitely, if your company is operating a certain way. Don't go find some company that's completely different and be like, oh, well, they've got a great one. I went to Google and Google's got a great mission statement about what they do. You're going to operate your business very differently, and their goals and your goals likely aren't going to align.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you recommend someone just kind of stays away from that, or if they should find a template, work from that, or
they go to thomaskeenan.com, man. That's where they go.
That's where they go.
Yeah.
Be number 11. Book that damn webinar. Shit.
Like it depends on the person's brain as well, right? Like I don't know if you guys have read Rocket Fuel or Traction or any of those books. I highly recommend that you do. It's based on EOS,
on my list now.
Entrepreneurial Operation System, and they talk heavily about the integrator versus the visionary, right? I'm more of an integrator than a visionary, right? And I'm a weirdo because there's a 4-to-1 ratio in the world. It's four visionaries to every one integrator. Visionaries tend to be hard charging, fast. They're good at sales and marketing out of the gate. They have these new ideas. They're bouncing all over the place. Hey, we got to do this. We got to do this. And they have, and I hate to break it to you, but you got shit follow through in the back end. Okay. The integrator is the opposite of that. Yeah, we can do some of that visionary shit, but at the end of the day, we're really good with setting up structure and systems and processes.
Okay.
Right.
That's why when I had a partner that was an engineer by trade and he wanted to come in, he was the integrator. I'm the opposite. You're absolutely right.
So being an integrator, I don't do well with a blank canvas. Full transparency. So I'm the kind of person
I love blank canvases. Love them. Yeah.
I want that template because the template's going to inspire me. If you show me a process in a business, if you show me a way to do something, the way that my brain works is I can optimize that process.
Okay, but create
it from scratch, but it's going to take me 6 fucking months.
Gotcha.
Right? It's not my natural zone of genius. So again, I think it's very subjective. So depending upon who's looking for the information, if you're someone like me, no, go ahead and do your Google searches. Go look at the companies that you actually do business with and you like doing business with. You've got a good customer experience with, and see what they do have in place and see what you can steal from them. Still like an artist, man. Like seriously, there's nothing new that you're going to create at this point in time. Nothing.
Yeah. Especially in this sphere, like thinking of a mission statement, for example, like it's.
Whatever you can come up with has been said 100 times.
Yeah, absolutely. And likely better than you'll create on your own.
Say that book again, because I got Audible pulled up.
Yeah, so there's 2 of them. And I would go with Traction first.
Okay.
Right. It's written by Gino Wickman, Gino with a G. Gino Wickman. The second book is called Rocket Fuel. And that one's written by Gino Wickman and a guy named Mark C. Winters. In Traction, they talk about EOS and they just touch on the difference between the visionary and the integrator. In the book Rocket Fuel, that book is dedicated to just the relationship between the integrator and the visionary.
Wow. Interesting.
I like it.
I'm really curious about that one because I'm kind of a mix of both. So I'm curious.
Yeah, so I'm going to send you to somebody else's website. How about them apples?
Oh.
Yeah. Whoever's watching this, and you guys should do this too. And I do this at my live events. I do this with all my one-to-one clients who I coach with and are in my mastermind. I put them all through the Visionary Integrator Assessment. Go over to rocketfuel.com, and in Rocket Fuel, they have this online test. Take you about 10 minutes to take it. You'll probably answer 20 or 30 questions, and it will give you a score and tell you if you're more visionary or integrator. There's 4 possible outcomes. They don't tell you this there, but there's 4 possible outcomes. You can be a more of a visionary. You could be more of an integrator. Those are the 2 obvious ones, right? The third one is the hybrid. You could score a high integrator and or visionary, which gives you the ability to do both at a very high level. And the fourth one, this is the one they don't talk about because it's a little bit negative, not in a bad way. But if your score comes back and it tells you that you may not be either a visionary or an integrator, it's pretty common. What that tells me is that you haven't self-developed enough.
Oh, wow.
So get your ass to reading, get your ass into some classes, get your ass into some online courses, go invest into yourself.
Holy
Thomas, man, you just punched so many people in the gut right there. Like, fuck you, Thomas. I know who I am. I mean, listen, detailers are proudful, man. We're proudful because we can take a car that's dirty and we can make it clean.
We're magicians.
We're magicians, man. We can take paint that's got scratches and we can make that scratch go away, and then we can put this coating on it to make it protected, right? Like, you just really hit at the core of a lot of us, man. Just careful.
Yeah, I'm so curious though, but some homework. Anyone listening to this is seriously go there. There's going to be a comment section below this and post what you are. If you're brave enough, you might find out you're the fourth one and you're
All right, so there was the third part, which we had started and then came back to here. So let's go. Now we're in the third part.
Yeah. It's why you're in business, right? And the reason I say that this is it's clearly the most difficult one to answer. And this is where most people fuck it up. It's like, hey, why are you in business? Like, to make money. No shit.
Yeah, obviously.
unless you have a 501c3, a non-for-profit.
I'll push back. I think there's a lot of people that get into detailing not to make money. I really do. I mentioned it earlier, right? Like, it's just a hobby, or we do it part-time. There's a lot of people that just enjoy cleaning cars. They really do.
Sure.
But then they think that I should start a business, right? Then they get it like me. When I was working for somebody else, not happy, but working. And somebody goes, "Oh, I've seen some people clean cars." I go, I clean my Isuzu Rodeo. Love that rodeo. Stick shift, man, it was great.
Was it red?
Love that rodeo. Great rodeo. Back in the day.
I close my eyes and I think of an Isuzu Rodeo, and I think of the old school one with just a nice red one with the black bumpers, the black top. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
no, mine was all white. Mine was all white.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. I would have bought it I was going into my senior year of college. So it would have been 99. I think it was like it would have been early 90s, right? I wouldn't have been able to afford it, right? But so it was somewhere in the early 90s. It would have been a little bit older. All white there, man. I loved it. Listen, I was graduating from a Suzuki Samurai.
It's a big upgrade.
So the rodeo was amazing, dude. It was amazing.
Love it.
Okay, so figuring out the why though, that can be a difficult one.
Yeah,
And,
it is. Full transparency, not everyone's able to figure out what the fuck it is. However, those who have the ability to overcome that hurdle and figure out what the true purpose is, those are the real bangers in a good way. Those are the companies that start doing some real magical shit.
So what would be some hypothetical whys? Like, I know we don't want to take other people's whys, but if it's so incredibly difficult, then at least give us some breadcrumbs of where we can start to.
So I'm going to give you what my purpose was my last company. How about that? Okay. So we had a company. I had a partner as well. And we installed GPS tracking and dash camera devices in commercial vehicles, right? We were subcontractors. We didn't sell the hardware. We didn't sell the software. We were just a wrench who showed up and put the shit in the truck. Okay. And we worked, you name the vertical. If it had a vehicle or a fleet of vehicles, we worked for that company. So it could be school buses. It could be oil trucks. It could be garbage trucks. Like, you name the vehicle or a company with a fleet, we were there. HVAC guys, electricians, you name it. So it was a three-pronged approach. And we started as just two installers who came from the car audio business, needed to get a little bit more involved. And all of a sudden, like, oh, fuck, there's actually this thing called money over here on the commercial side of the business. And the labor is simplified. Okay. And I'll give you an equation why it's simplified. We come from a very skilled world, right? Same thing like with you guys doing now with detailing and ceramic coating and paintless clear wraps, clear bras and shit. Like, that industry has evolved massively since back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you got to be a skilled guy to do that shit these days. Same thing when it comes to custom car audio and remote starts. Like a typical remote car starter is like 25 to 40 connections into a vehicle. You fuck one of those up, and you got problems, right? And it takes a skilled and a trained technician to install that stuff properly. We transition over to the GPS world, and the work is much easier. Now we're talking a 3-wire connection into a vehicle. We need a constant, we need which is a battery connection, we need a ground, and we need a switched ignition. And I'm the fuck out of there. Okay. So we're 2 skilled guys who go in and start doing this work. And now the work is simple, but there's a lot of it.
So we go from sign me up.
Yeah, we go from doing like, 2-3 cars a day, or sometimes, a car a month if we're doing this big custom audio job, to fuck, dude, we got 50 installs to do today. Yeah. And it forced us to become efficient. We had to learn how to become efficient. And then we started looking at it from like a 30,000 foot view. And we're like, well, if we're more efficient, which means implementing systems and processes and hiring people and bringing the right people on and training those people, right? And this is the formula. And I steal this from a company called Trainual because I use their product for a long time. They have a process called do it, document, delegate. You got to do it, which gives you enough idea of how the fuck to do it, like really do it. Then you got to document it, which is just, hey, give me a bullet list of how this is done, which then enables you to go out there and delegate it to somebody else. Okay. We started doing that and the efficiency started to increase. The more efficient we became, we realized that we were helping the company we subcontracted for, the actual GPS company, we were helping them become more efficient. Oh, shit, and now because the 2 of us are efficient, the end user is more efficient. The only reason that Joe's Plumbing has these tracking devices installed isn't necessarily, this is the biggest misconception in the tracking space. Everyone's like, oh, this fucking guy wants to know where I am and how fast I'm going. Homeboy, I guarantee you, he doesn't give a shit. The whole reason he's putting that device in the vehicle is because he's trying to check his metrics and get more efficient and save money in his company.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's the big picture, the big reason behind it. Right. That's what telematics are for. So we become more efficient. The GPS company becomes more efficient. And most importantly, the end user, the client, the customer with the vehicles becomes more efficient from the work we're doing. That's a 3-pronged approach. That became our purpose as a company. Right. Okay. So our purpose at Top Class was to bring efficiency to life. How can we go into a situation and look at it and say, okay, this is a pretty fucked up situation. How do we make it better? How do we take a 10-step process and turn it into 3?
Okay. Makes sense. And so your why was basically the desire to make other companies, more efficient, save money, and then at the same time apply those principles to yourself.
Bingo.
Okay. And make a shit ton of money in the process.
Bingo.
Hell yeah.
All right. Here's my last question, Shawn. I don't know if you got maybe more. This is sort of my last question, but also to community, everybody listening, for some, well, take it serious, do something, right? All right. You mentioned in your book, we talked a little bit a second ago, morning routine. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's back into this for a second, because you've just basically thrown out this massive big thing that you even have said that other companies, and these aren't people that are just doing, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year, 1 or 2 people, right? You probably have these really large companies working with you. And you mentioned, and you talk about morning routine. Okay. I listen to a book. It's another one that I would recommend to people do. It's by a guy named Michael Gervais, which you might like. It's close to Shawn, and Pete Carroll. Now, I actually didn't listen to it at first because I'm a Notre Dame fan by early to late 80s, Rocket Ishmael and all those fun stuff, right? Like,
so you're saying you're not a Notre Dame fan now?
Yeah, I don't watch it anymore. You're right. But it was what I started watching, still have a shirt, still a big fan. And as they started having battles with USC, then I would also, being an Oklahoma Sooner fan, I went to the Orange Bowl in Miami, where we got absolutely slaughtered by Matt Leinart. It was terrible, right? I can't stand USC. So ultimately, I don't like Pete Carroll. Right. But he's got a really great book and a really great philosophy in the way he's grown a franchise in the Seattle Seahawks and the USC Trojans. And he talks about having something you do every morning as you get out of bed, being thankful for things and being intentional to looking at the moment of things in your day that you want to have successful before your feet actually touch the ground, and then doing something. My business partner, Nick, talks to every successful person. He's out of Vegas. everybody that he services at this elite level, which is pretty much all he does, they always have some type of exercise for their morning routine. Shawn, you joked about you've got a bag over there that you don't hit anymore. Exercise can be completely different for people. And I made jokes about it in a podcast recently on the Pines Polish podcast. I enjoy yoga. Sounds strange for a mid-40s guy, but you have experienced a sciatic problem.
Oh, yeah.
I've been experiencing over the past 7 years and really into heavy therapy, about 3 years of spinal stenosis. So I understand sciatic problems as they were ripping this nerve through dead, undeveloped muscle. Your sciatic problem, trust me, brother, I understand. It's brutal.
Yep.
The one fun thing that I have dramatically enjoyed, and I will now hopefully, right, morning routine, hopefully stick with, is being that old motherfucker that I used to laugh at that walks his dogs through the neighborhood. I literally couldn't get around the block the first day.
Yep.
I came back home and my wife laughed at me. I couldn't do it. But months and months and months, and I've run half marathons, I've trained, I understand all that.
Yeah.
And now I can eventually start to walk 30 minutes. I can literally think through things through the day. I can let my mind run and do whatever I want, or I can be like, that is my moment and I cherish it. If we don't like hitting bags, if we don't like lifting weights, or we do, let's all chime in of, is that really to get the core values, to get everything, like to go through the three things? Ultimately, does it start with simple every morning waking up when my alarm goes off? If I want to snooze, I snooze, but making sure I'm intentional when I get out of bed and I'm intentional with some type of exercise in the morning. Is that for you, or is it night? What is it like?
Yep.
How should we go about doing this?
Right now is a weird situation. I'll get into that in a minute. Number one rule is you can't effectively lead your company any further than you've personally led or self-developed yourself.
Just a little slower. Say that one more time.
You can't lead your company any further than you've personally led yourself. Okay. So it all starts with you. And I fucked that up for the longest time, dude. Like the longest time. Okay. It was 2018 is when I started taking things seriously for myself. Right. I'm 43 years old right now. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I went from being an athlete in high school and doing pretty well there to getting hurt playing football and then getting into a career. And, you know, like other guys in the automotive world, you know, you're at the shop 12, 15, 20 hours a day, some days on your feet the whole time. The last thing that comes to your mind is taking care of you. It's, oh, fuck, I got to go finish that customer's vehicle. Otherwise, you know, Sally's going to be pissed off that I don't deliver it on time. And the intent and the focus goes to you and the business only. Like the business is everything. And I did that for the longest time, especially in my first company. And I fucked everything up. Fucked up my health, fucked up my relationships, fucked up my finances, like literally everything. I don't know how my wife is still with me to this day because she was my girlfriend back then. Right. And she used to date me. She used to come to my shop and hang out.
Oh, shit.
Because I was too busy working.
Jeez. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So like I've been
That's
that
wrong,
guy
man.
who's in reactionary mode the entire time. Right. Just been there. So 2018, I got sick and tired of just being fat and out of shape and bending over to tie my shoelaces and being out of breath.
Wow.
I've been a big guy my whole life. I'm 6'4". Right now I'm 260 pounds. And at that point I was probably 315. Right. Just not doing well. And I was like, you know what? I've been reading a lot, reading all these audiobooks. I read The Miracle Morning by, I think it's Hal something or other. Great book. He goes over, you know, why it's so important for a morning routine. And like anything else that I've done, some of it resonated with me and some of it I was like, yeah, that's not for me. So I took the pieces that did align with me and I started putting them to work. Right. And that's okay. Stop waking up whenever you want to wake up, because my DNA tells me I'm a night owl. Right. And I said it for years. Like I rather, you know, stay up and go into the garage or hang out in the shop and let's bust out a 6-pack and we're going to work to 3 or 4 in the morning. I'll do my best work,
Yeah.
have shit and working on $100,000 car. Right.
Yeah.
I then switched it. I reverse engineered it. So now it's like, okay, I'm forcing myself to get up early and start early. And I finally got fed up. I'll give you the story here. I went into the city, New York. So I still lived in New York at the time. Went to the city. I was at a Christmas dinner with my ex-business partner and one of our clients who we met with every Christmas. And the guy, great guy, older gentleman, we learned a lot from him. And my business partner and myself wound up getting into a verbal disagreement in front of the client at this fancy fucking restaurant.
Jeez.
And we left. He drove me to Penn Station. I was going to hop on the train and go home and drop me off. And I proceeded to get out of his car and then walk and bar hop by myself until 4 a.m.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I then missed the only
Been there.
train back home. And had to stay in the city until 7 o'clock in the morning like a fucking drunk with all the
Jeez.
college kids at Penn Station. Right. And I was like, yeah, this has got to go. And the next day I got home. And it was probably a couple of days later because, as you get older, the hangovers last much longer.
A lot
Brutal.
longer. Yeah.
Brutal.
So it was probably 3 days after that I was like, all right, I got to make a change here. And I reached out to a woman who I knew and wound up hiring her as a trainer. I was like, I got to get myself active. I know that's one of the things I'm missing here is like, I'm in this reactionary state. So I hired her and I hired her intentionally in the morning. I was like, I need your first available session, which was 5 a.m. And my thought process was, I care more about other people and fucking their schedule up than I do mine.
Jeez.
So if I show up to your gym late, I'm going to fuck your schedule up and every other client you have behind me. So I refuse to do that. Like if I'm going to show up late, like, yeah, cool. I don't care. But now that other people are attached to this, it's like, oh, no, I can't do that. Like I got to
Butterfly effect. That's
So
absolutely.
That's what got me there and going. And I started working out with her 3 days a week in 2018. And that became part of the process. Dude, it took forever. I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
I was still a bastard. And then it's something that's just slowly evolved over time. And now it's part of the routine. And I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning, come hell or high water.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm leaving the house and I'm headed to the gym. Right. I'm usually home by 7:30. Come in, spend some time with the wife, the family, the kids. And my morning routine has changed from when I wrote the book. And that's cool too, because it's going to evolve. So come home, spend some time with the kids and the wife and whatnot, and hang out on the couch, drink a cup of coffee, pet the dog, go in, I'll take a shower. And then my day typically starts by about 9:30. So yeah, my day started at 5 a.m., but my work day doesn't start until about 9:30 each day.
Absolutely. Yeah. But now you're very prepared for that because you just took care of yourself, you spent time with your family, and now you're in war mode to take on whatever comes, right? Yeah, absolutely.
I do the family time first for a reason, because even if shit goes sideways work-wise later in the day, I can still say I got a little bit of time in with the family.
Took some time. Yeah, I do the same thing. So in the morning, it's coffee with my wife and then drop off the kids at school. And I make sure I'm always dropping them off. Even if there's days where I got, shit going on or something, hey, my wife can drive them there. Sure. Nope. Daddy's got to be there too, because I want to make sure that at least that way on the days, like you said, sometimes shit happens and it's like, hey, daddy's going to miss supper tonight. It's rare, but on the times that happens, I feel better knowing I at least spent time with them today, because like tomorrow's not promised. And I want to make sure that every day there's certain things I need to check off. And that's my why for my personal life, which my business integrates into. So it's not my personal life trying to integrate into my business. It's my business integrates. It's a part of me. It's almost like one of my hobbies. It's not because it generates income, but it comes into my life as that way, so it's sorry, Marty had to run. He was trying to stay. He told me earlier, he said I only had so much time, and then he sent everyone home, but so he had to run, but he sent a message in the thing. But yeah. And so I just had one last question,
sure.
if possible. And so it was maybe a weird one, but I was wondering, and you kind of answered it. So that's where I was like, I don't even know if you should add, but it was what time of the day you feel you get your most productive work done. And there's a selfish reason I'm asking, because I structure my work day in a certain way, because I'm kind of going between my shop, which is physical, it's in the real world, and then I have several online companies as well. And most of my communication there is email or things that aren't, no one knows what I'm doing. So I can, if I get back to you now or in 3 hours, you don't know if I could be, watching TV or I could be doing some coding. You don't know. But in the real world, they can see you. So you have to deal with it right then and there. And so I schedule my emails basically of when I'm going to get back. And I kind of go through rapid sessions and I say, okay, between 9 and 10 a.m., I'm handling just emails. That's it. And everything that came in from the night before, boom, 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 boom. And then later in the afternoon, same kind of thing. So I was just curious. I'm always curious, other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, I like the way that you're doing it because as far as I'm concerned, you're time blocking things and you're saying, no, this is my email time right here and nothing else. And it allows you to focus.
Yes.
I'm a firm believer that you have to live and die by a calendar, right? Because as an entrepreneur, we essentially don't have a boss. I mean, we always have a boss. There's always, Uncle Sam. There's always the IRS. There's always, your faith. There's always the wife. Right? Everyone's got a fucking boss. So that's kind of a lie.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're that entrepreneur, you're that business owner, you technically don't have a boss who's like, you have to do this by this time. You have to, go ahead and you got to work on marketing now. You got to make sure the website's operational. You have to go work on SOPs. You got to go get your core values set up. Like there's nobody there to tell us you have to get this project done by this time. And that's where the calendar comes into play, in my opinion, right? So I have a very structured Google Calendar. I use Google Calendar for everything. And my entire day is formatted there. Right. So my entire morning routine is in the calendar. All 5 or 6 steps of the morning routine are documented in the calendar.
Because that's part of the day. It's a requirement. It's not optional. Yeah.
Part of the day. I use Calendly, right? If you want to go book an appointment with me, book a podcast, whatever the case may be, here's a Calendly link. And the Calendly link will only allow you in there on certain times. And if there's something else that's already been booked before you can't get in and bombard me at that point in time. I'm also a firm believer, and I know how you are, because this isn't for everybody. I'll be very clear to say this, right? Because I got myself in some hot water before having this conversation. If you have a retail facility, if you're a service-based business, this probably doesn't fucking apply to you unless you've got a big team. But I'm very fortunate where I'm out of those industries where I now serve my clients in a coaching consulting manner. So I refuse to be reactionary. And what I do is I don't answer phone calls at all. Don't fucking call me. Right. And the reason being is because I know, I know that if you call me and I answer that phone call, even though it may be, cool, no problem, it's a 30-second call, I'm distracted in 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Easily. Yeah. And the time it takes to get back on something, I look at it like, you're running, you're going somewhere. If you stop, let's say you're okay, I'm going to go for a 20-minute jog around the block. You're jogging around the block, and your neighbor starts waving to you and they're kind of flagging you down. They want to say hi. Do you stop or do you keep going?
Yep.
All my instincts tell me keep fucking going. Because if I stop, I'm now cooled down. The chances of me completing the rest of my jog go dramatically down to zero, And so I'm the same way. And it's funny, when I leave the house, first thing my wife says to me is, don't forget to turn your ringer on. And I turn my ringer on and there's only one number in my phone that will actually ring my phone. And it's my wife. And that's it, because it doesn't even matter. And that includes one of my daughters has a cell phone. Doesn't matter. Call mommy. You know what I mean? It's my wife. She calls me. That's it, because everything else is a distraction, because my wife is the only person on this planet, I can tell you right now, that will unconditionally respect my time if she knows I'm busy doing something. Because like even my mom, she loves me to death. She's great. But she'll call anytime. She's my mom. You know what I mean? But my wife, she knows. She's like, nope, he's doing this, and she respects that. And it goes both ways. We have a very good relationship that way. But yeah, my phone's off, and people always ask me, because we have a software company, so they always ask, can you give me a call? I'm just trying to figure this out and stuff. And I'm like, first off, hugely inefficient for both of us. You're talking about needing to figure something out on a screen that you have to see. Like, have you ever done tech support trying to help someone with a computer where you can't see what they see?
Brutal.
Very inefficient. And the whole thing is, so I'm big on putting together resources for them. It's easier if what problem are you having? I go make a quick video when I've got some time. I send it over to you, walk you through how to do it. And now the next person that has the same problem gets the same thing.
The video in place already.
100%, because I'm literally servicing thousands of people. So what's the alternative here? Give 100% the best customer service you can to one person, or give 90% of that same value to 1,000 people at the same time. Right.
Yeah. So that to me all goes back to knowing what you're worth.
Yeah.
Right? You
100%.
got to know what you're worth per hour. And once you figure out and you know what you're worth per hour, you're going to change your actions very rapidly.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny. That chapter stuck out to me as well in your book. And by the way, this book, highly recommended. In fact, I'm going to say anyone that's using our software, any of our members, this book is pretty much mandatory at this point. I'm going to say, to be honest, I will be putting links in the software for it under our marketing tab as well, where we have resources. Absolutely. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. And so, yeah, hey, one last question, because we usually do a segment. Marty's gone, unfortunately, but we usually do this thing called Just the Tip, where we give a marketing tip.
I love it.
So we do just the tip, and we give a marketing tip. And my tip for this week, before I knew that you were going to be joining us on the podcast, I had a tip prepared, but I think honestly you're the perfect guy to help answer this question, because you mentioned it with your Calendly link. Number one question I see in a lot of forums for detailers is revolving around scheduling and how do I schedule my jobs? And, I'm worried about double booking and stuff like this. And I've always been a firm believer in, look, the cost of acquisition for a customer is through the roof. So like at our shop, we don't really limit people for when they can request a booking. They're just requesting a booking, because there's so many variables that go into it. We got to assess the car and all kind of shit. So we let them just pile in. And then we have a guy who jumps on the phone and reaches out to them and closes each deal. He upsells them at the same time. He easily covers himself in like 1 or 2 days of work for the entire month. Not a concern. Everyone should follow this model. People are very concerned about, customers double booking and stuff, because I feel the problem with the industry is we're giving way too much freedom to the customer to dictate your schedule.
Bingo.
We're trying to appease the customer to go by their needs. But reality is, if you want to do most things in life, you want to, I want to buy a pair of pants. I'm subjected to their business hours. I don't get to be like, well, I'm actually fucking free at 11 p.m. Levi's. So why don't you open up the door and, fix me up with a size 36? It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? They set their hours. I have to work within that. And that includes, maybe I have to wait in line longer because there's less staff. They're dictating that because it's their business. Would you agree is number one or not? And why? And what do you think there?
Yeah, I would agree 100% because I've done it both ways.
Okay.
I've also been that guy where it's like, hey, you call us and we're like, oh, we'll have a technician on site tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Yeah, we got you. No problem.
Then last minute, and we rearrange the entire fucking schedule for you. And last minute, you call us up and be like, oh, false alarm, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. No thanks. And went over and above for nothing.
You went over and above, and it going back to this again. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it puts you in a reactionary state.
Yeah.
Right now you're in this reactionary state, and everything that you're doing that day is dependent upon what your customer is doing. Is your customer going to show up? And that's a very difficult way to run a business.
It's risky, I find, and leads to a lot of no-shows, cancellations, reschedules. It's really difficult to plan your resources. And for me, I like businesses. So much of business is unpredictable, but there's a lot of factors that you're actually in more control of than you think, at first glance. And your scheduling your time is the number one. Like we do windshield replacements as well at our shop. So initially we had 3 techs that were doing it, and we figured, okay, we want to be available 24/7. So we had emergency service and all this kind of shit. And then we started to realize we're like, okay, we live in a world with Uber. It's pretty cheap. It's affordable. So the guy breaks his windshield and it's, 10 p.m. Does he need it fixed today? Or maybe he could just Uber to work and then instead tomorrow, because what we found is they didn't want to pay the premium, getting our guys to show up. It was a logistical nightmare, and it was adding undue stress for no reason. You know what? Core values, it literally went against everything we were trying to do, because now that same tech that goes out there is fucking exhausted for the customers that booked in advance. They prepared their schedules. They worked with us. They were great customers. And now our guys showing up the next morning, exhausted to shit, going to go change their windshield for, so I find the predictability side can be increased if you just control your schedule and you say, you know what, we're only going to do windshields on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And that's what we've done at our shop. Very predictable. And we know exactly what to do. So thanks for your feedback on that. Because I often get pushback. I give advice to a lot of these guys and girls, and they often, no, that's crazy, because they see all the other shops doing it the other way. And I'm like, well, you can keep doing the same shit, or you can make some tweaks and changes, reinvent the wheel in a sense, or improve the wheel. And you're going to be a lot better off and a lot happier. So
Yeah, I agree.
awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time. See, what happened really is Marty got a little too sloshed with the community. He's not here. I could talk some shit.
He's drinking those IPAs, man. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. But well, listen, Thomas, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. We'll do this again sometime. Absolutely. We'll do like a follow-up, because as you said, 5 years have passed since you put that book together. So I'm sure there's a follow-up part 2 in the works, and it'd be nice to have you back on and go over that for everybody. But in the meantime, so in addition to Audible, 'cause not everybody likes to listen. Some people like to read. Myself, I like hard copies. But where could someone purchase, or where's the best place they can get a hard copy as well?
Yeah, well, it's Amazon. That's the best place to go.
Beautiful.
You can go on
What's Amazon?
Yeah. Or just go to my website, thomaskeenan.com. My other site, that talks more about, my offerings as far as coaching, mastermind stuff, is Step It Up Academy, which is the logo
Beautiful.
behind me
In
for
the
those
background
watching
there.
the video. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's where we cover that kind of stuff. So you can hit me on either of those websites. I'm going to get notified with, marketing purposes, going back to marketing. Hit me on those
Perfect.
websites, fill out a contact form, and I'll be in touch with you personally.
Absolutely. And Thomas, please do me a favor. After this, send me a link to your Calendly booking link. I'm going to be posting it in our group after the video. I'll post a link there too. And I'm going to highly encourage anyone if you've made it this far, it's for good damn reason. There's some hot gems in here, and there's a lot more you can do with your business with the help of Tomas Keenan. So absolutely. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you, brother. Have a great day. Thanks.